What's up, gang? We're back. An all-time moment from our guy, Terrence Young. One of the best draft moments in Bears history.
I don't think I have much say on that one. It's pick 126.
20 seconds.
You know who he is? It's a hell of a cool boy. That is an interesting pick. I'm surprised that there's a rating for that position. It's high. But a lot of folks did have that as potentially a late second and would be
Riley Ridley, wide receiver, UGA Georgia.
another Georgia Bulldogs. 33-inch arm or thereabout. Big wingspan.
It's draft day, baby. Let's go. With the Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Bottle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000, don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
What a great sign that is. What have I told you? 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought.
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Good class, everybody.
are ridiculous.
There it is, folks. We are back and better than ever, firing it up, having a little technical difficulties, so we're going to get right to it. Hopefully my mic can behave, and without further ado, we're going to get right into our special guest for the day from 670 The Score. Hard working on the Bears beat all day, every day is my guy, Chris Emma, joining the show. Welcome back to Brags and Stance, Chris. Appreciate your patience as I muscle through these technical difficulties. I'm no computer wizard. So
what's up, Brags? How you doing, buddy? Good to be with you.
I'm doing good, man. It's the draft, so I'm kicking things right into it. It's obviously Bears fans are on pins and needles tomorrow night. I think I did a poll the other day, and more Bears fans are scared than they are excited for what's to come tomorrow night. Maybe rightfully so after everything we've been through here these last few years. But, I got to ask you, if you had to choose one, if the Bears were able to move up or even stay at 20, depending on how things shake out, which quarterback is the one you would choose for this team?
Well, my one is that also the most realistic one, and that's Justin Fields. It sounds like he's got the biggest potential to fall, and I don't quite understand it, to be honest. He's somebody who I see QB, kind of the third quarterback in this draft, really, behind Lawrence and Wilson. And look, this guy's a leader. He's got the intangibles you want. He's got a great head on his shoulders. I don't understand any of the talk about, his work ethic, anything like that. This guy's what you want in a quarterback. And I really think he's got an opportunity to have a really successful and special career. You see what he did at Ohio State. He made that jump from Georgia, transferring over to the Buckeyes. This guy has what it takes to be a top-tier level quarterback. And if other teams are going to pass on him, that's the Bears' good fortunes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, Justin Fields, I think, would be such a surge to this fan base and the team because, he obviously brings a lot of, a high commodity being from Ohio State. But also, I know there's a lot of, Bears fans that feel like they kind of held back on drafting black quarterbacks. There's this stigma that maybe the Bears won't do that as their leader. And I think, obviously talent rules the day on the field, but I just think if they made a move like that, he's certainly the type of guy I think a large portion of this fan base is going to rally around, and being maybe one of the first black quarterbacks that they want to be their franchise guy. Is that something that you see an impact in, or is that just kind of, a fan or a media driven kind of label?
I know that narrative has been out there. I think it's probably unfair. But at the same time, they've only brought in one quarterback, right? That's Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, I know in terms of the draft, I know there's been free agent signings and, different guys coming in and out of the building, but they failed to address this quarterback position long-term and bring in that franchise guy. I think Justin Fields can be that. I really have been impressed by his makeup and his talent. I think you saw it every time Ohio State took the field. If they played a full season, he was going to be a Heisman contender. He's that good. The thing that impressed me the most about him, kind of coming off the field for him, last August when the Big Ten decided it was not going to be playing his season, he started that petition, and he rallied thousands and thousands, I think even hundreds of thousands of signatures. This is a guy who really, he wanted to play. A lot of guys in his position were ready to opt out, and rightfully so. It's their right. It's their decision to get ready for the draft. Trey Lance, obviously in a kind of different scenario with his team not playing, but Justin Fields was so hungry to play. He was willing to put himself out there as kind of the leader of this movement. And that struck me just from a football standpoint of this guy really loves the game and loves his team. And he got his team right there to the national championship. And, they ran into the buzzsaw in Alabama. But Justin Fields really stands out to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and here you see Matt Nagy watching him over on his pro day, so I certainly think they have their eyes on him. But then the question of the day is, as much as if they want any of these quarterbacks, including Justin Fields, how confident are you that they'll be able to move up to get that position? I mean, we saw the trade package they offered for Russell Wilson, so I think they certainly are desperate enough, but will they have a trading partner? Will they be able to get something like this done?
Well, I mean, you have to weigh everything in this decision, right? I mean, obviously the quarterback thing's there. What do you think about Davis Mills or Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask on day 2? I mean, those guys are going to be there. Probably all three at pick 52 if you look at the way things are kind of shaping up. I think once you get past that top tier of quarterback and probably through the top 10, there's going to be a significant drop-off where the Bears are going to be able to get somebody else in day 2. Is it the prudent thing to really mortgage the future for somebody like Fields versus Kellen Mond or whoever it may be, whoever the Bears would covet? I mean, I spoke highly about Fields, but I also see a lot of potential in those day 2 quarterbacks. And look, I think it's more prudent to play out what happens tomorrow night. I think there's going to be phone calls from Ryan Pace talking, whether it's the Panthers at 8 or whether it's the Cowboys at 10, whoever it may be. You're going to have opportunities to potentially trade up, but what's too much for Ryan Pace? Clearly he's willing to be bold, but
yeah.
At the same time, you're going to have a lot of, that quote unquote best player available is going to be falling to them at 20. This is drafted a lot of variation on different draft boards. They're going to get somebody potentially who's got like a top 10 type grade, or maybe even multiple of those guys fall to them at 20, at which point you can even trade back and stockpile more assets for later on in day 2. So there's a lot of ways they can go with this.
Certainly, and we've got a lot of people in the chat watching. Certainly enjoy your work and your coverage with the Bears. We got a bricklayer from Florida in the house, and then of course our guy Pump 91. He's calling Chris Emma the #1 Bears beat reporter, and maybe we'll get to that at the end because you did win a tournament. But I want to continue on our Bears conversation here. But so that's where my opinion is at. As you mentioned, they could get high value at 20 or even trading back. Is that your opinion that they should just stay at 20? Because that's where I'm at. Just stay at 20. Don't panic. Get best player available. Get an offensive lineman in here. Start really bolstering that up. And then, you have options in the second or third round for maybe a more of a developmental quarterback. But, with these guys, I would have cleaned house personally. But, to me, they're going to need to significantly upgrade the room if they want to have a chance. But to me, the prudent thing would be to stay at 20. Is that your opinion as well?
I'm going to paraphrase my colleague David Hall, who just wrote on our 670thescore.com, be boring, Ryan Pace, just for once be boring in a draft. Sit there and wait at 20. Don't make the overly aggressive move that gives up multiple first-round picks and puts you in a hole later on. Be boring. I mean, it's really the right thing to do in this case. And look, I know there's 5 potentially special quarterbacks in this first round, but the reality is it's going to be hard to trade up to get even one of those guys. You're talking about 3 in the first 3 picks. You're talking about probably 5 within the top 10 if all likelihood plays out. Be boring. There's so many good players that are going to be dropping down to this 20th pick. If they want to go tackle, they can probably get, the 3rd tackle on their board, whoever that may be, because these tackles are going to be ranked so much differently from different draft board to different draft board. Same with wide receiver. Same with corners. I mean, you can address – those are the 3 deepest positions aside from quarterback in this draft, and they happen to be the Bears' biggest needs on this roster. Like, how perfect is that? Don't panic on a quarterback move when you can address a win-now type move at the 20th pick with a guy who also has long-term upside. I mean, it's such a win-win situation for Pace and the Bears.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people throwing the name Jenkins around. That is a guy that could be there at 20. I don't know much about him. I'm not an offensive lineman draft evaluator. I'm not a draft evaluator by any means of any of the sort. So I don't, my only familiarity with any of the tackles is Slater from Northwestern or Eichenberg from Notre Dame. I'm a Notre Dame football fan, and the Bears have certainly done well with 2 Notre Dame offensive linemen last year that weren't highly touted. So you can't go wrong with offensive line help there in that regard. I have seen in a lot of mock drafts, and I'm not sure if you exactly have somebody pinpointed for who they're going to pick, but I have seen even on NFL Network's mock draft is another Northwestern product, Greg Newsome at cornerback. Do you think that is a real possibility? What do you think of his talent level, and how mad would the fan base be if they walk up to the podium and announce Greg Newsome, cornerback, as their first round pick?
I said I think that's the guy they go with. I think it's Greg Newsome, and that addresses a big need. They can sit there and feel really good about their corner combo moving forward with Newsome and Jalen Johnson, or maybe it's one of these other guys. Maybe it's Caleb Farley falls to them, and they really believe Put aside the medicals, the back injuries. You can take him at 20, feel like you got a top 10 value. There's so many other guys in this draft who, at that corner position, at the receiver, tackle, it's so deep. This is such a deep draft beyond just the quarterback position. I spoke with Bears great Olin Kreutz earlier today. I said, what do you think they're going to do? What would you do? He said, go get a tackle. Go get an offensive lineman. Bolster this line for the long term and take advantage of the depth in this class. And you can make that case very easily. I'd also argue as well. I talked about Newsome. I talked about the tackles. I think they really need to address receiver because you don't know if Allen Robinson's going to be back for 22. You don't really have much besides Darnell Mooney for the long term. And, I mean, heck, he's a rookie. He's still got a long ways to go in his development process. Go get another playmaker. Somebody can take the top off of defense. I can make a lot of different cases here, but that's the beauty of this draft. I think it's a really lucrative draft for the Bears.
So, I'm a little nervous about the Greg Newsome pick because I don't know. I need a little more flashy. I'm not sure how, but I'm certainly no draft expert. I've watched a few Northwestern games, but not all of them. So I'm not going to act like I know anything, and I'll certainly be rooting and try to be excited for whoever they pick. But, you mentioned wide receiver, and that was certainly one of my questions because I know a lot of people are saying maybe the Bears take Kadarius Toney from Florida at 20. And obviously you have seen his highlight reel. He's certainly someone that can make plays. But me being a guy that's followed a lot of Purdue basketball here these last few years, I've definitely had my eye on Rondale Moore. This guy is electric with a capital E. Do you think that the Bears could get him in the second round, and should they get him in the second round?
I love Rondale Moore. I'm with you all the way on that one. Remember his first game as a freshman was against Northwestern at Ross 8, and he lit it up. This kid continued to get better. He's got really kind of a special makeup. He doesn't blow you away in terms of, he's not that 6'4" specimen as a go up and get it guy, but he's built well. He's so dang tough, and he's a big playmaker. He's somebody who fits this offense well. He's not at all redundant to Allen Robinson. He complements Allen Robinson so well. I'm not exactly sure where he's projected to go. I think it's probably looking more second round, but if you have that conviction on him, we talked about that trade down, right? That opportunity. And Pace even alluded to it too, as a strong possibility for them. You get to 20, you got multiple guys on the board who you really like, make that deal down, and maybe you're going for Rondale Moore late first or early second. It depends how the chips fall for them, but I'd absolutely buy into this kid.
Do you agree with the Tyreek Hill comps, or are we starting to get a little out of control with Tyreek Hill comps? Everyone's the next Tyreek Hill. I tried to pinpoint that for Tariq Cohen when they tried to make him kind of their gadget player who also played wide receiver. You go to training camp at Bourbonnais, and he looked like Tyreek Hill out there, throwing bombs away down the field. And then that didn't necessarily translate every game in the regular season. So do you think with Rondale Moore, there is a Tyreek Hill comp? Because he does have a very high vertical, and obviously he has all sorts of speed, and that is what a Tyreek Hill does.
Yeah, I tend to roll my eyes on those comparisons. It gets, too easy or lazy at times, and I'm buying in for that one. And it's because of the big play ability. And Rondale Moore has the ability to take a top off of defense, but he's also got the ability to go one-on-one with the receiver, and then bam, he's gone. Or one-on-one with a corner, and he's gone. He's got that ability to beat you and make you miss in so many ways. I look, the Bears offense has been lacking that. We've watched so many games the last 2 seasons where you're thinking, where's that big play? Where's that 20-yard, 30-yard, 40-yard? I mean, heck, so often is where's that 10-yard? Rondale Moore is what the Bears have been looking for, that kind of game-changing talent when you can throw that into the offense and think about what that does for Allen Robinson, the pressure you take off him by having that 1-and-1, and then you had that with Darnell Mooney as well. They could complement each other so well within this scheme, and they kind of, you're looking now, I know Matt Nagy's offense is not getting any benefit of the doubt, but they want to do the run first kind of thing and then create these opportunities in the passing game. If you're able to create a true running identity, and that's a big but with these Bears, big if, you got an opportunity with a talent like a Rondale Moore or any of these other guys in these first-round type receivers complementing Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, you suddenly start to feel pretty good about this offense.
Yeah, Mooney was getting open last year. They just didn't have a quarterback that could get him the ball consistently.
Ball detail, right?
Yeah, that's important. And maybe Andy Dalton can complete passes, but I've seen enough of him at Bengals to have a good feeling that this is going to be another average retread like we saw with Nick Foles, in my opinion, but I'm not rooting against him by any means. But then also you mentioned with Matt Nagy and his questions on how he knows how to put players in their best position to be great and run a consistent offense, I think is also a big question mark, but can't hurt to have as many playmakers as possible to try to facilitate that dream. So, another question that I did have, and, you talked about Matt Nagy be boring. And, I thought that was funny, but, I'm certainly not boring by any means. I like the crazy, and I still have my eyes on Russell Wilson. I won't take it off ever since he put us on his list. And then the Bears made a significant offer when it certainly seemed like the waters were murky in Seattle, and then they came out today, Pete Carroll, and said that they're in a better place and words had been said. So that got my ears up, like, who can I start drama with to get these words going again? Because is this fantasy land, or can the Bears come to the table tomorrow and take that same offer and up the ante to 4 first-round picks? Because as you know, you can only offer 3, but the day of the draft, you could offer 4 first-round picks if you so choose. And to me, that is the type of trade deal that any franchise would be crazy to pass up on. But I do understand Russell Wilson and what he means to Seattle. Is this a fantasy land scenario, or should I continue to hold out hope that one day this picture will become a reality?
I guess he could live in fantasy land for another night.
I like it.
The draft is all about, right? The draft is about dreams and opportunities, and the chance to get Russell Wilson in that Bears uniform is the dream that everybody's been looking for. He's the missing piece. He's the quarterback the franchise has long been searching for. Sure, I guess until the 4th pick, probably, right, with the Falcons. That's your last opportunity to make that big move, and then you make that swap with Wilson, or however it may play out. I don't know. I guess until that 4th pick, probably, you never say never, but you might be hitting delete on that Photoshop pretty soon.
Well, I'll hold it on to it for next year too, because then the trade package comes down to get Russell. If they don't make the playoffs, or they lose in the playoffs again, maybe they'll be more ready to move on and try to rebuild a new franchise in Seattle. They're better at the draft anyway. Take our picks. But I know you're running short on time, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. You're a busy man working hard on the Bears beat, and tomorrow is certainly a big day for you and the guys over at 670 The Score. But of course, I did have to bring up, we were in the March Madness tournament. You made it all the way to the championship. You took me down in the first round, the 10-7 matchup. I was very upset about my 10 seeding, because the year prior, I was able to get all the way to the Elite 8. I was taking down some Goliaths of the Chicago media industry, and then you just cut the rug out. I even tried to put out a tweet that said Chris Emma hates puppies, and then you turn around with this dog bait that you put on Twitter, your adorable dog. What do you have to say for yourself here? It was very good tactics, I must say. This is a very cute dog, but I think it took you all the way to the championship. You took down Adam Hogue. This is big time.
Well, shout out to Bailey, first of all. Good puppy. You got to have the good puppy on your side.
My dog's named Bailey as well.
I will say, I think you beat yourself in this, because I didn't know this tournament was going on until you got into my mentions with it. It would have skipped by me. You kind of fired up this side a little bit here. I had to get involved a little bit, so I chirped back with Bailey. The funny thing, now we got our group text of a few of the writers here. They were all voting for you because, what you've done, the videos of training camp, it's a great resource to us in a lot of ways. We're all Brags fans, so I was already losing with my own friends and colleagues. Still pulled out the win anyways. At that point, I just wanted to beat Hogue. It was all about beating Hogue. My family and friends kind of showed up in the voting a little bit. I got a loyal grouping, so
there you go.
I'm honored to take the crown. My mom thought I'd win something significant. I'm like, sorry, Mom, it's just pride and bragging rights. So
you're going to be busting Adam's chops here come next year when you guys are on the Bears beat. The champ is here. I can already hear you saying it to him as the sports reporter. We don't know who this guy is. He's done it 2 years in a row.
Shout out to Noor 786. He brought a lot of entertainment the last month.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and hopefully he can continue to integrate some of the other Bears writers in there. Luis Medina was, I think, left out of it. He's one of the best of the best at Bleacher Nation. The guys at Deep Dish and Sports. There's so many different names out there of fun podcasters and legitimate beat writers, media personalities here in Chicago, but he did a great job with it, and I've had fun with it 2 years in a row. But I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to reach the Elite Eight again, because now the popularity of this contest is growing. So we'll see. But I appreciate the kind words on you being a Brags fan, and I do find that interesting that some of the media members love me, because I wasn't sure when I was jumping the shark on you guys in 2018. I was like a little worried about getting the side eye with some of the coverage I was doing, because obviously you guys have limitations, and I'm just a fan in the stands having fun. And, I certainly don't want to cut you guys down for what you do, because I grew up following all you guys, 670 ESPN, without everybody, Sun Times, Chicago Tribune. I follow all this stuff, and that's how I become an informed sports fan. And you do a great job of providing that kind of content to us. So, before we let you go, why don't you tell our viewers where they can find you and the work that you do, and certainly the coverage you're going to bring tomorrow for the NFL draft.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. A lot of coverage to come this week, and it's a busy, busy weekend. Our draft show on 670 The Score tees off, but I think an hour before the draft. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. We got a great team of analysts breaking it down. We got a lot of insight to come, and then plenty of coverage digitally, 670thescore.com. You can catch it all in the Odyssey app as well. So fun weekend ahead. One of my favorites of the year, and I cannot wait.
All right. Well, we're really excited for it. We can't wait either. We're a little scared, but also a little excited. Excited to see if they will indeed trade up for that quarterback. If they do, so be it. I hope he's the best quarterback in Chicago Bears history. But either way, it'll be entertaining, to say the least. So we're going to cut you loose, because I know you got a lot more on your plate here tonight. So again, appreciate your patience with us trying to get going, and appreciate all your knowledge that you brought here to the show tonight.
Take care, buddy.
All right, we'll catch up with you. Chris Emma from 670thescore.com. And we're going to bring Johnny into the stream. I apologize, Johnny, with everything we had going on.
Good, man.
And then Chris informed me, he needed to be tight. So I just wanted to get through that and make sure we did right by him and got him off on time so he could continue to go do his work. So, but before we get to our next segment, and we have another special guest coming up, I, of course, got to hit up our guys at Fanbags Cornhole. And you see that? I pull up the banner before I do the read, which makes it a lot easier than trying to do it while I do the read. So that Chris Emma of 670 The Score interview was brought to you by Fanbags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs, or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with Fanbags Cornhole. Bam. It's like it's in the game. I want to get that guy on one day. The EA Sports. You ever seen that video of him doing that? He met some. Yeah, somebody like met him, in person, because he's a real person, and he did the voice for him on video. It's pretty epic.
How many times have people and kids throughout the history of that game mimic that voice? If he had $1 every time someone
how do we get him on here to be like, you're listening to Brags in the Stands? It would be really cool. So we'll have to see if we can facilitate that this summer, because we never have any shortage of special guests. And with that being said, we're certainly going to bring on our next special guest as we've worked through our technical difficulties, and our guy has been waiting patiently in the back, and there he is, in the stands, having fun.
Yeah, baby.
That is our guy, Don the Bearman, with his infamous grr, as he always does.
What's up?
How you guys doing?
We're
Thanks
doing
for having me on, boys.
Of course. Thanks for coming. You're a great friend of mine, and it's actually your first time being on Brags in the Stands, which is actually probably my fault. That's not good, but we run through the season, and it was such a whirlwind of a year. It was none of us can go to Soldier Field and embrace. So it felt like it flew by, and thank God for that, because I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
But Yeah, man, let's get right into it, Don. You know, you're the most renowned Bears fan in the world, and there's so many of them worldwide, and we all look to you, you know, as our inspiration for the passion that you bring. And tomorrow night, of course, man. Yeah, I couldn't say enough nice things about what you bring to the fan base of the Chicago Bears. But you know, let's get into the draft. It's tomorrow night. What is your expectations for the draft? Are you hoping they trade up for a quarterback, or do you want them to just sit at 20?
All right. Well, first of all, Greg and Johnny, this is the first time in 2 years, 3 years, we got a number one, the first round pick. That's the big thing. I mean, the last 2 years we didn't have any. So
right, because we gave it up for Khalil Mack.
Exactly. But you know, listening to Chris Emma, I mean, I feel we need to stay at 20. I think there's too many teams that know that we might be too desperate and take advantage of us to move up for a quarterback. I'm a big fan of Kellen Mond actually for the second round. So, you know, I believe we need to draft a quarterback, but it's too much to give up. Like even 2 first rounders, you know, future first rounder, that's too much, I feel. And you know, either offensive tackle, wide receiver, quarterback. I heard the Vegas odds have like offensive tackles, the best odds, then quarterback, then wide receiver. But actually, I don't know. I kind of like another weapon for QB1, Andy Dalton. I kind of want to see a wide receiver, but you know, I'm good with all three. But if we do a quarterback, I'm kind of the Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech.
Okay.
You know, I was reading about him. You know, in his first game he ever played as a quarterback, he had 2 interceptions. His very first. I mean, he was a wide receiver.
Sold.
Exactly. And I think he's had, you know, like 5 interceptions in 2 years, and then he didn't play last year because of COVID. He opted out, and Newsom really doesn't have the interceptions. But you know, somebody to get 2 interceptions in his first game, I know his medicals are, you know, could be a problem with his back, you know, and knee. So, but you know, they're saying, you know, if he's there, I've heard some experts say the Bears should go for him. Another one that could be there is Waddle, the wide receiver Waddle.
I would
Alabama.
die a happy man if to Jalen Waddle.
Exactly, another Waddle.
Tommy Waddle. I mean, it's the perfect.
I don't think that he will be there. That's one of my things I was going to talk about a little bit on some of the gambling picks that I like for this draft. As you can see, I got the NFL official hat. I've got my All Valley Karate Cobra Kai with the Bill Belichick cutoff. I'm ready for the draft. I don't have a first-round draft pick this year because we got Orlando Brown Jr., but I'm always pumped for the draft. You never know what can happen. And I like Jalen Waddle actually going in the top 10 as a bet on DraftKings. That's one of my favorite bets. I hope he's there for the Bears at 20. If he is, I think they got to take him.
The Bears would run. Bears would run to the podium if Jalen Waddle is still there at 20. He has immense talent. Obviously, he got hurt, which might have took a dip in his draft stock. But yes, of course, his last name and then the legacy of Tom Waddle here. And obviously, Tom Waddle's a great friend of our show and what we do here. And that would be just amazing to see more Waddle jerseys running around Soldier Field. So I'm right there with you.
And I've seen Bateman from Minnesota. You know, I've heard some experts pick him, you know, and then Tony, you know, from Florida.
Kadarius Toney. Yep.
Tony's gonna be a weapon. I mean, obviously, a lot of people like to compare people to Tyreek Hill. You know,
everybody gets compared to Tyreek Hill.
I think we should get Tyreek Hill on this show just to talk about how everybody talks about he's the next Tyreek Hill. I will Tony a lot. I think he's going to be a weapon, and you just get him in the right system, and then you see what he can do, and then hopefully people will be comparing him to the next Tony instead of comparing him to somebody else. Well, I like him a lot as well.
Well, that was like the Hester syndrome when Devin Hester was reigning terror on everyone in the league. Everyone was the next Devin Hester, but as we all know, there's only one Devin Hester, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame next year. And truly, there is only one Tyreek Hill. I used to try to convince our old neighbor Adam that Tariq Cohen was the next Tyreek Hill, but there's only one Tyreek Hill, and I got to have respect to that. And that being said, I with Kadarius Toney, like you were mentioning, Don, and then Rondale Moore, I think has a similar skill set to Toney. I think you could get better value getting Rondale Moore in the second round if you were lucky enough to have him fall to you. So I certainly have my eyes on that. But, you mentioned some later round quarterbacks, Don, but that's all the talk of this draft, and especially here tomorrow night in the first round. And will the Bears either trade up or hopefully maybe stay at 20 and a guy like Mac Jones is there at 20? Who knows? Or even Justin Fields, you're hearing some different whispers of him potentially falling, depending on how this draft shakes out. The Denver Broncos just traded for Teddy Bridgewater, and we're not sure what the Panthers are going to do here in the top 10. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. If you had to choose one between these three guys, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields, is there anyone in particular that you'd prefer for the Bears to trade up for?
Yeah, definitely Justin Fields. I've just been hearing so much about him, his work ethic and his intelligence. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot. But, I just feel there's no way any of those three are going to be there at 20, because you got the Patriots, you got the Redskins, and you got the Broncos, ahead of us. So, to me, it'd be crazy, that's my opinion, that though any of those three would be there at 20. We're going to have to move,
Right.
And what we have to give up is the big thing,
Well, my question is San Francisco obviously making this move well before the draft, and now they're saying, we like 5 different guys at this spot, and then Shanahan comes out yesterday with the weird comments that none of us could be alive, by the time the draft comes around. But I think he knows who he wants, and I actually think that he is going to pick Justin Fields.
Really?
That's my little shocker for the draft. I think that's his guy. DraftKings has that pick, number 3 at plus 500. So $100 bill will get you 500 American dollars. And that's what I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to do. I don't think, with the system that he runs, I'm not sure that Mac Jones is that guy, in my opinion. I don't know if they want to take a chance on that other guy. I'm losing his name here, Trey Lance, that doesn't have quite the game experience that some of these other guys have. You got a guy like Fields. You got a guy that's been in some big games. He can get the ball out quick. He can roll out of pocket, make some plays. And with those weapons they got in San Francisco, with Kittle and the rest of the crew, I think that's where they're going. I feel it in my bones, and I think that's who they want, and that's who they're going to get.
So you're saying you think Jones is the one that would fall?
Correct.
Right?
That's what
that's what I would. Yeah, because Trey Lance, I think his skill set, his speed. Even though he plays a division, that secondary division, there's no way he's going to fall. I don't think I think you're right.
I was a big guy for the Bears for Mac Jones. Like right when the season ended, I felt like. Before he started getting a lot of hype, and obviously he got a lot more hype going here with the pro days and stuff like that. But I felt like that was a serious quarterback that the Bears could get that has, a potential to have, if he gets in the right situation, an impact. I don't know if that's going to be the case now with how, they hyped him up. And now, like you said earlier in the interview, the 3 top positions in this draft in a lot of people's eyes are obviously the quarterbacks, the tackle and the offensive line, which is very deep, and the wide receiver. Some of the D-line and the trenches on the D-line, that's pretty shallow from what I've been doing. And I'm no expert studying for 14 hours a day, but I do see a lot of it. So, I think offensive line and wide receiver are the depth, where you're going to get some steals in the second round and the third round. But, we'll see. I think that Mac Jones could be, a good little fit next, sitting behind Andy Dalton for a year. Kind of like Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. Could Mahomes have played his rookie year? Probably. Most people think so. Alex Smith, though, was having the greatest year of his career, so it was hard to pull him.
Sure.
But, the rest is history. And, Mac Jones, I've been saying, I've seen weirder things happen. Maybe the Bears get him.
Well, and I saw somebody tweet out that, Mac Jones at 3 would be crazy, but Mac Jones at 20 is a great value. And I know my guy, Phil Atoshin, draft Dr. Phil over at the Tape Never Lies Network, he's obsessed with Mac Jones. So I think that would be his dream scenario, is that we don't trade up at all and Mac Jones falls to us at 20. And now we have a quarterback that Matt Nagy can, let's see what you got, Matt. Let's see you develop him. You inherited Mitch Trubisky. You didn't draft Mitch. You didn't pick him, but you did pick to come to the Bears with Mitch. So it was incumbent on you to develop him, and you did not. So strike one. So if there's probably strike two with just the debacle of the last 2 years. Now, if you can get a guy like Mac Jones in here, and if you develop him, hey, now you got a base hit. But if you don't, that's strike 3 and you're out to me. So I'm certainly willing to let him fall. And if he gets to 20, the Bears draft him, I'll be the biggest Mac Jones fan ever, just like I was a Mitch Trubisky fan, because I just want the Bears to succeed at the end of the day. And I would like them to get a quarterback if they can at 20 in the first round. But I just don't want to trade up, because I can't trust even trading up to 4 to get the 4th quarterback taken seems so dangerous. And it's just like, unless you could promise me you're going to get it right, I'm just too nervous to make that kind of move. And if it's Justin Fields, I know a lot of fans will be rejoicing, and I'll certainly be excited, but I'm also going to be nervous about any of these guys, because it just never works out in Chicago. So, maybe this time the tides turn and things go right for us for once, but I just want them to be patient and stay at 20 and let the chips fall where they may, as they say. But getting to the
how do you guys feel, the two of you? Okay, we got Kellen Mond and Davis Mills. So let's say, the second round, even if the Bears trade up to get them, what's your opinion on who they should take?
No, I'm not familiar with either quarterback. Maybe Johnny can speak on it a little better.
I know some of the later – what schools do those guys go to?
Well, Davis Mills from Stanford. Kellen Mond is Texas A&M.
Yeah,
and Kellen has a big arm.
Yeah,
I know that.
The guy from Texas A&M. I've seen some of his tape. Some of those, not those mainstream names, but I did watch a little bit of his tape a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, all these guys that play this big time college football, they obviously have enough talent to be stars in college. Now it's the matter of getting the right person with the right coaching staff and seeing what you can develop. You hear that word a lot, but if Pat Mahomes wasn't with Andy Reid, would he have been as good? I doubt it. Would he still been good? Yes. But would he has been as good with that system, with people like Tyreek and Kelsey catching the ball? Probably not. So for me,
that offensive line too.
Yeah, and the offensive line. And with the kid, I would definitely go with the guy from Texas A&M. That would be out of those two. That's who I would pick.
And I got no problem with them taking one of those guys. The only issue I'd have is, this is a make it or break it year for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. And, they've had multiple years, even with Mitch Trubisky in-house, to draft a developmental quarterback, and they've chosen not to. And even last year, they gave up a 4th-round pick for Nick Foles, who they've now replaced for Andy Dalton. And it's like, if you had just stuck with Mitch and let Chase Daniels be the backup and ride this out one more year, you'd had that 4th-round pick, and you could have drafted a quarterback in the 4th round. So now this is the year you're going to pick to draft a developmental quarterback. You gotta push all your chips in. They tried to trade the entire farm for Russell Wilson, because they know that they got to get this right, because it's make or to break it. So I don't know if Matt Nagy's comfortable with pinning his career on a developmental quarterback that may not necessarily be ready. But then we also don't know how long of a leash do Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy still have. I think fans are ready to have him gone after this year if it doesn't work out, but maybe George McCaskey's got a longer leash extended to them. And that would be my next question to you, Don. We've talked about the draft here and we went over it. I'm certainly excited about tomorrow, but going back just to the offseason in general, and we haven't been able to really talk about this. I was very disappointed that George McCaskey didn't clean house. And I like Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. I also like Mitch Trubisky, but I wanted them all gone. Start over, start fresh, get a new GM, head coach, and quarterback combination all at the same time. The Bears have never done that. They continue to roll over, either a GM into a head coach or a head coach into a quarterback. 1 year it's you fire Lovey, and then you roll that over, you keep Jay Cutler and make him go with Mark Trestman. Then you fire Mark Trestman and have him John Fox stay with Jay Cutler. Then you fire John Fox.
I'm getting anxiety.
Right. Then you fire John Fox and you get rid of Jay Cutler. You draft Mitch Trubisky the last year of John Fox, which made no sense. And then you fire John Fox. You bring Matt Nagy into Mitch Trubisky. We just continue to do this hamster wheel instead of just starting from the ground floor and building up. That's how you build a house, is from the foundation up. You don't just tear the roof off and then you can do that, but it's a crappy house. You need to build the house from the ground up. Are you disappointed, Don, that they didn't clean house completely?
Oh, yeah, that's a
long way. I was fired up.
Yeah,
put them right up there, all alone for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I like Pace. Well, to some extent, Nagy also. I mean, what really hurt, I think, is them making the playoffs, even at 8-8. That I think that saved their jobs. If they did probably make the playoffs, they would have been gone. But making the playoffs at 8-8 kind of was a joke. Then we didn't do anything. The press conference, I really, was handled very poorly. Trying to say that, Ryan Pace is still learning on the job after 6 years. It's like, that he's going to get.
How about Ted Phillips saying, have we got the quarterback right? No. Have we won all the games? No, but everything else is there. Like, slow down, Ted. I think you're speaking out of turn a little there.
I think, I thought maybe Pace would have got launched and maybe, Nagy, give it another chance. I mean, the other thing too, winning coach of the year his first year, that helped them so much too, I mean, but at the same time, they digressed from 2018. So I definitely wouldn't have had a problem of launching them, but the way they explained it in the press conference, irritated me and irritated a lot of people.
Certainly irritated me how they just continue to say, like, really hammer home that it's the quarterback was the problem. And I get it. I'm the big Mitch Trubisky backer, so everybody's at fault but the quarterback. That is not what I'm saying. Mitch had plenty of faults. But as I've always said for 3 years, as this unfolded after the Cody Parkey double doink and everything is kind of falling apart, it's not all on Mitch that is the issues with this team. There's a much more of a core issue with this team. And I thought that was highlighted with Javon Wims fighting the Saints player, Gardner, whatever his name is. And he gets thrown out of the game. He completely embarrasses himself on national TV in the regular season. Then we play the Saints in the playoffs. Somehow the Bears get to the playoffs, and here they are, the Saints again. They tell the entire team, don't mess with this guy, Gardner Johnson or whatever his name is. He's an instigator. And Anthony Miller, and I love Anthony Miller. He to me, I thought he was going to be one of the more exciting players the Bears have ever had, and it hasn't worked out, for a lot of reasons with the coach and the quarterback. It's not all on Anthony, but Anthony certainly has a lot he has to own too as far as his development goes, and it doesn't help when he doesn't listen to the coach that says, don't get in a fight with this player, and then there he is getting in a fight, getting thrown out of the game. And oh, by the way, Javon Wims drops the biggest touchdown catch of the game. He shouldn't have been on the team in most circumstances. Like a guy like Bill Belichick had him run out of time. He doesn't even barely plays on practice squad half the time. Bill Belichick would have ran that guy out of town. Instead, we still have him. He drops the game, not a game-winning touchdown pass, but one of the biggest plays of the game. To me, that's an indictment. Yeah, but to me, that's an indictment of Matt Nagy's coaching, that he doesn't have the respect of his players, that they're just out doing stuff like this. It's not about just the quarterback. And then it's a bigger issue with running the ball and the consistency of not using David Montgomery, going to Cordero Patterson on 3rd and 1 and running he's all over the map when it comes to coaching. It's not just the quarterback, and I kind of resent that when they try to lean on that. That's just my perspective from the bird's eye view from the stands.
Well, I watch a lot of football, as you know, for lots of reasons. I mean, because I just love football. I mean, the day football season ends and that first Sunday comes around, it's like a little bit of depressing, to be honest. But I watched every Bears game almost. I got my setup in my house, or whether I'm in Vegas or whatever. And some of those short yardage and 4th down plays that the Bears were running, I was like, who would ever call these? Like, I cannot believe that a head coach would call some of these plays. It's one thing, to do a trick play or a gadget play once in a while, but, that just shows that he doesn't have the confidence for the O-line to move the line of scrimmage to get that yard. That's just what it shows. So maybe that's your answer right there. Maybe with this draft being deep in tackle and offensive line, that's where you got to start with this team if you can't get if Mac Jones doesn't fall to you or one of these other guys.
Well, they certainly have to upgrade at offensive line. You should always be upgrading all positions, but certainly offensive line. And you saw Alex Bars and Sam Mustipher come from Notre Dame and really give them an influx of energy and spirit on that line that I thought paid dividends. But that's also on Nagy when you talk about the offensive line and not trusting them. 2 years in a row, he couldn't figure out the right combination of who he should have out there until like week 10. 2 years ago, it was he played Kyle Long 5 weeks too long into the season. Last year, it was Rashad Coward too long into the season, and also not knowing whether or not James Daniels should be a center or a guard, Cody Whitehair, a guard or a center. He's been all over the map, and he can't get his ducks in a row until it's too late. And then he handed off the playbook to Bill Lazor, and then all of a sudden, David Montgomery starts running all over the yard. And I understand they were playing lesser talented teams, but this is the NFL. You play who's on your schedule. So if he starts running the ball when Nagy's play calling sheet's gone, now how are we supposed to feel next year, Don, when Matt Nagy's taking that play sheet back? Do you have any confidence that he will be able to be run first oriented and have a consistent offense?
No, I mean, well, I have to see what he starts to call, but unless he's changed his outlook on play calling, that kind of disturbs me that he is taking it back. Unless he, had a basically epiphany that he was doing things wrong. That's, we got to see. But I mean, to me, I just think the head coach should be calling plays.
I agree. That's why we got it. That's why
he has other things he needs to be more concerned about. That's my opinion. I know Andy Reid calls plays, but I just like the head coach to be over everybody and not be, calling plays. That's my opinion.
I definitely think there is an element that you're correct in that way. He needs to know everything about his team and not just focus on when Vic Fangio was here. It's like he didn't even pay attention to the defense. You got to know everything that's going on with the team. Yeah. But at the same time, we hired this guy to call plays and develop the quarterback. If he's not doing that and Bill Lazor's doing that, then why is he here? That's the other half of it that has me concerned. So if he is ready to take the play calling back, do it well, like we hired you to do. You no more blaming the quarterback. You've now chosen two, Nick Foles and Andy Dalton, to come in. I understand they're not end-all be-all quarterbacks, but you chose them to come here. Last year, you were certain that Nick Foles was going to rejuvenate your offense and run it the way you want, and that went down the tank. 6 games in a row, 7 games in a row they lost until he had to turn tail and go back to Mitch Trubisky, who then, ironically enough, basically saved his job by spitballing a few games together and making the back door of the playoffs, or else Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy aren't here likely, because it would have been easier on George to cut the bait and wipe the slate clean. So, I think there's some irony there when it comes to that, but a lot to consider and certainly see how it all unfolds as the season goes. But Don, I do want to move on to you personally. You're, as we were talking about at the beginning when you came on, you're an infamous Bears fan, a Hall of Fans inductee. You got the gold jacket. Yeah. I mean, you're the most renowned, recognizable Bears.
Infamous, Greg. That's just famous.
That's
an outlaw.
That's right.
This is the real deal. This is no outlaw. This is the real deal.
Well, thank you guys. I'm flattered. Yeah,
of
very
course,
flattered.
man. You got Mike in the chat here from Florida. He says, grew up looking for that guy in every game and love him. And that's the sentiment I think everyone has when, they see you on TV or meet you in person
Right.
at Soldier Field. We even had our guy Johnny B when I took him to the tailgate. Here's a picture of you and Johnny B. That was you may not have known him then, but now Johnny B's a neighbor of mine, or at least used to be when we lived in our old stomping grounds of Aspen Trail. So when we were at that game, you guys are kind of kindred spirits in a lot of ways, because Johnny B is, as you can see in his Chiefs regalia, he goes to every home game, drives from Northwest Indiana to go to every home game, and goes to plenty of road games, went to both Super Bowls the last 2 years in person, and he holds up really cool signs.
I salute you, Johnny, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
This was Johnny B at when they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and it is that's an epic picture that I wish I one day can take myself. But that's what I mean. You guys are very kindred spirits. Even Johnny will sometimes get the beard all red painted and everything else. So
when I had the long beard,
I love the fans of Arrowhead. I've only been to one game there, but that atmosphere, just the whole, they know how to tailgate big time, and they have it set up so great there. So, and they really, that community really loves that team. It's even though it's a city, it's not really, a very large city. They got a really big connection there. So I'm kind of envious that we don't have that. The big parking lots that they do there, and how they wait in line to get the. I remember they would wait in line an hour or more just for the parking lots to open.
Oh yeah, those parking lots open at 6 a.m. You'll get cars out there when it's dark. But the reason I became a Chiefs fan was when I was very young. I got taken there. My mom had a friend that lived in that area, and I got a chance to go out there. It was my first time on a plane and all this stuff. And when I got there, the whole experience of the weekend, I got to meet some players, and just showing up at that tailgate and that whole experience that you're talking about as a young kid, that was it for me. I loved a lot of different teams, and I just loved football. Dan Marino, to name a few. Obviously, Walter Payton. I got to see him play once. I got to see Barry Sanders play live once. Wow. I'm sure you got to see him play a little bit more. And I just love football. When I showed up in Kansas City with the way the people are and just that whole setup with that tailgate, that was it for me. And that's how I became a fan. And I was tortured for a long time, Greg. I was tortured. But then.
No, you earned your stripes. There's no question about it.
It was the anniversary yesterday of, 4 years ago when we drafted Patrick Mahomes and traded up with the Bills. It was the anniversary yesterday, and all of Chiefs Kingdom, we cheersed our glasses, and we said, it can happen to any team if they get in the right situation. But I was that tortured fan.
No, I was so glad when you guys won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, because you guys really deserved it. Because what was it, 69? Is that when or 70 or something when you guys won it last?
4.
What's that?
Super Bowl 4. I wasn't alive.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I just so glad when you guys won. Usually I maybe cheer for the NFC, but not that case. You guys deserved it so much. With that fan base and everything.
Certainly deserved it, and we're happy for Johnny. It's 4 years ago that we traded up for a quarterback too, but we didn't have the good fortune you guys have had. But what goes around comes around, and I do believe one day the Bears will have their day in the sun, just like my Cubbies did, and that's how life works, in my opinion. But that's the positive attitude I try to hold. But that's what we're talking about here. Our diehard fans, we're all diehard fans that really live and breathe going to the games. And Don, you have a streak of attended home games and road games that.
190. I'm sitting at 199. So.
And as we said last year when I talked to Paul, the road warrior, that streak has not ended by any means. But how much are you looking forward to getting back to Soldier Field and being with the fans?
Oh, I'm looking forward. So it's just be like going somewhere and coming back. It seems like that whole being off for a whole year. So I'm just looking forward to it so much. Everybody is. And, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 100% capacity. That's my prediction. They're going to let, they might say, well, you have to be vaccinated, but that's fine. I think, that's not too much to ask. It should be 100% by then. That's what I feel.
Well, you saw the Atlanta Braves announce today that on, I believe, May 7th, that they are going to 100% capacity in their stadiums. Now, obviously, there's going to be some states that are a little more lenient early on than others, but I agree with you. By the time football season rolls around, I believe all stadiums will be at 100% capacity. Yeah. The vaccinations are getting passed out with enough frequency, and there's enough of them. And I feel like they're getting them out consistently enough to where we're going to hit the number they need to hit to where they feel comfortable opening everything back up and lifting these restrictions and mask wearing, regulations that they have in place. So I agree with you. I actually have a prediction that it's going to be the 4th of July that they announce that this is over and you can stop wearing your mask and everything's open back up 100%. I believe on the 4th of July is when they will announce it. Because if I was president, that's exactly what I would do, because if there's anything that's going to up your approval rating, it's telling everyone they're free on the 4th of freaking July. So let's hope that's when it gets here.
Greg Max 2024. Book it right there.
Slow down. Slow down there. We got things to do here at Braxton Stands before I run for office. But when I've been told many a times that I should run for mayor, when I go to like Wrigley or Soldier Field, I am kind of like, I know Don is actually the president, but I'm more like the mayor. I go around and I shake hands with everybody. I talk to all the people that work the aisles in the stadium, and I talk to all the fans and the players. So I certainly have some mayor qualities in me.
Greg, to a second now, you're saying that he's the president. When I was at the tailgate, we took that picture, and I have a video as well with Don, and I kind of put it out on my, my social, on my Twitter, and some of my family stuff, and I have a video too that's similar to that where he does the growl. And everyone's like, holy shit, man, you're like with Bearman. They were like all my Chicago people and stuff. And they were like, I see him on TV all the time. He's like the biggest Bears fan. And they were all like hyping him. And they were like, they couldn't believe that me with my Arrowhead on was posing with Don and Bearman. They were like so jealous. So that just tells you the legendary status that even a Chiefs fan posing with Bearman is getting all that hype.
Well,
and
Johnny,
you saw how happy he was just thinking about getting back to the stadium, which is all what we all want.
Yeah.
All sports are great, but let's face it, football, NFL football is what it's all about. Right. It's the number one sport. It's the number one bet sport. Let's go. That's what it's all about.
Certainly, football reigns supreme, and of course, Don is the president. He's the big timer. He, inaugural Hall of Fans inductee. You see David Baker there, coming to surprise him at his door to tell him that he was inducted. Don, what was that like for you to be inducted into the Ford Hall of Fans the first year they officially did that? Maybe Johnny and I one day can get lucky enough to get in. I know Johnny certainly will be certainly is deserving and fitting of that kind of a role or award or accolade. But how did that feel for you, Don, to have that moment happen for you and have David Baker come to your door the same way that the players that make it into the Hall of Fame are introduced?
I mean, it's mind blowing. That's all I could say. I never thought something like that would happen. But yeah, I mean, when he, the wait, and they were telling us only one of us would get in, but then all three of us got in. So, but yeah, when he knocked, I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, to have him out there too, how big of a guy he is.
Yeah,
I'm just, so humbled that I was picked. There's a lot of other Bear fans who are just as big as fans as I am. So, but I mean, I just was so happy to represent Bear Nation out there. So, but speaking of like Hall of Fans, actually, you two need to be. I think in the future, this association called Pro Football's Ultimate Fan Association. I mean, you two are big candidate. I feel should be represent the Bears and the Chiefs. So I need to kind of talk to you guys about that here.
Yeah, this
in
is
future, so.
this is the coin you and Paul are holding.
Exactly.
And I know I'm a little more familiar with it, and I'm honored that you suggested I should be a part of this because I know
yes,
Tyler and you guys are in it. But maybe explain to the audience and to Johnny B exactly what that organization's all about.
Right. I mean, it's basically been around for a little over 20 years. It originally came about from the Visa Hall of Fame. Actually, before Ford, back in '98, Visa tried this, similar to the Ford Hall of Fame, but not to that great extent. But they actually chose a fan from every team. So they had 32 teams. And actually, I was in the Visa Hall of Fame, but, there was no ring or jacket. They did have a display there. So that lasted for 6 years. But, from that, we made, I met Arrow Man, from the Chiefs. I don't know, Johnny B, if you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Arrow Man?
Yeah, I got pictures with Arrow Man, and my wife has pictures with Arrow Man.
There you go. He was in with me the same year. So.
And what is this organization called again? I know you said
okay,
it.
Well, I mean, the Visa Hall of Fame was discontinued after 6 years, but then from that, us Visa winners decided we wanted to continue this, and we just took it upon ourselves to become a nonprofit and call ourselves Pro Football's Ultimate Fan Association. And we have our own website, we have our own Facebook page, so pfufa.org. But what we do is, we do similar to that, to the Hall of Fame. We actually have draft cards where if we feel there's a fan that's worthy of being in our association, they're given a draft card, and then they go through a process of submitting a bio and then getting interviewed, and they're voted on by a membership committee. And then in Canton, for 20 years, we basically get together in Dover, Ohio, just south of Canton. We have a reunion, and we induct new members. Not every year every team gets a member, but there's a lot of years they do. And we have, again, we have our own coin, and the Hall of Fame actually recognizes us, even though we're not in there. But they love that what we do. Our mission statement is to promote fan fellowship and sportsmanship and contribute to charities. We have basically every year we have a charity fundraiser at the J. Babe Stern Center in Canton that we do a big charity event with. So, and also we have a float in the Hall of Fame parade, and that's been going on for 20 years. So
nice.
It's called the 12th man float. So, we do a background check on everybody. I mean, we're very thorough. I mean, if your interview.
Impressive how you guys were able to organize that all together. It just shows the passion that all of you guys have. And as you said, you're not the only diehard Bears fan. You're certainly probably the one that gives the most back to the fans when you consider how many pictures and stuff you do with them.
And it's not just fans who have costume. A lot of people say, well, it's only, we have fans who just look like everybody else. I mean, it's your passion, your history, how long you've been following your team, how much you're into your team. So it's not about what you look like or anything like that. Even though there are fans who do wear costumes and so forth, but it's not about that.
Like the Tampa Bay fan,
right? Big nasty. But we have a lot of fans who have like Pinto Ron from the Bills. He's kind of famous for his tailgating, but he doesn't have a specific costume. So, but with you, Greg, doing your podcast and your knowledge of the Bears and so forth, you're a great candidate, and how you treat other fans and welcome them in, and you too, Johnny B. So that's something we're always looking for, new members. But the one thing is, though, you have to be kind of drafted by a fan of your own team. Like I could give Johnny B a card, a draft card. I can give one to Greg, but so Johnny B would kind of have to connect with
the
some,
Arrow Man, right?
right. Well, Arrow Man and yeah, actually, just Kansas City hardly has any. You know, for a while they were kind of
well. Johnny B certainly should be on that list because he brings the energy.
Yeah.
He has these awesome signs, and he sits. Is it north or south end zone as far as where you're always located, Johnny?
You know, I don't even know if it's north or south, Greg. I can tell you it's section 127, row 7, baby. Let's go.
He's got great seats, Don. And when the Bears return to Arrowhead, I'm certainly making the trip with him this time. And maybe you can attend too, and we can all tailgate, and he can show us the ropes down there. Certainly would be
all the ropes.
So the last game I was at Arrowhead was, I don't know, when Priest Holmes, I think, broke the record for, I think it was Dick Drawn's last year, maybe.
Okay.
Remember, he broke the record for most TDs, I think, in the season.
And it was against the Bears where he broke that record.
It's been a while. I sold my tickets to that game because all the Chicago people were like telling me I had to take them, you know, and they were fighting over my ticket.
Oh, yeah.
They were pushing my wife out of her seat like she couldn't go. So then I said, you know what? I'm going to sell those seats because Bears fans obviously travel well. And I sold those seats, and I watched that record from the comfort of my own home. I remember.
Well, no pressure, Johnny B, but I certainly want to go with you for the next Bears
I will
game.
Say I know more people than way back then, and I have a lot more connections now. So tickets are usually not a problem for Johnny B to get a hold of.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. And regardless, we're coming. You don't have to promise nothing, but I'll be there. You know, Don will tell you, you know, Johnny, I find a way. When I get my mind on something, we're all kindred spirits in that way as well. So, you know, as you mentioned, Don, you have a very long games attended streak. What are your numbers again for home and some of your road streaks, or as far as your numbers are concerned?
Well, I mean, I have a home record of 199. I've been to like 300 and I think like 30 games altogether at home. But my last time I missed a home game was the last game of the 95 season. So first game I ever went to was in 1983. Got my season tickets in 1985. So
you've missed very limited games since then, correct?
Exactly.
Like even early on, you've only missed a handful of games, correct?
Right. I mean, unfortunately, back in was it 87, 88, I moved to Tennessee when I graduated from Purdue my first time. I took a job in Virginia and then Tennessee, but then I decided I needed to get back to the Chicago area. So from 89 on, I really only missed, you know, I think one game there in 95. So,
well, I think a lot of people,
you know, I had this goal like 15 years ago to see every NFL stadium in the league. And I basically, you know, except some of the new ones that just came on, I've seen them all. The only ones I haven't seen is, the new LA,
Vegas,
now Vegas, and Minnesota, New York, and that's it, basically. So.
Well, the Minnesota one certainly looks nice. I certainly want to try to make the Vegas one, but I'm already going to Vegas in August for a good friend's bachelor party. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford 2 trips to Vegas because it's pretty pricey already as it is. But I'm looking forward to it. But
yeah, that's going to be a hot one to go to. When the schedule's coming out, let me say May 12th or something.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there's a misconception that people think it'll be because it's the 17th game added that it's going to to be week 17. But I told people that is not how it's going to go. That's what I thought. It's going to be
you play a division game week 17. You play a division game week 17.
Exactly right. It's not going to be the last week of the season.
They're not going to have Chiefs Packers week 17.
No, that makes no sense.
Have Vegas and Chicago with the hype that is.
Right.
For all the Chicagoans going out to Vegas for that whole thing.
And as you mentioned, they do divisional games to end the year.
They do divisional games. They switched that a while back.
And so, Don, you know, a lot of people obviously know you for being in the tunnel for where the Bears come out and go into the locker room and they show you on TV a bunch and everyone takes pictures with you. But, maybe not as many fans know the man to your left in this picture here on NFL Network. And that's Paul the Road Warrior, your good friend. And, another guy that is, you talk about president, he's the vice president. There's no competition here. I know you don't like that, putting labels on anything, but you guys are 1 and 1A when it comes to Bears fandom. And this guy is just as much of a Hall of Famer as far as what he's put in. Talk about your friendship with Paul. There's Paul the Road Warrior. We were tailgating last year with your sweet looking truck there in the background. And Paul is such a good man and a warm heart. Talk about your friendship with Paul and the kind of Bears fan that he is.
Yeah, I actually met him when I was running the flag, at Soldier Field, when I got that job back in '98, and his seats were right by the tunnel there where the Bears came out. So I just kind of, started talking to him, and I found out that, he would go to all these away games, and I think I've started to go to some away games. He would get me tickets, and we just kind of hang out from there. And then, then at New Soldier Field, he sits by the tunnel, and my seats though were on the other side of the tunnel, like 14 rows up, and he knew Paul has 2 seats, but then he had a guy next to him who only had 1 seat and wanted to sell his PSL, and Paul, as a good friend, told him about me, and if it wasn't for Paul, I wouldn't be sitting where I'm at today. So
okay,
but,
I didn't know.
And Paul's helped me out. Like when going to away games, I would stay with him because he stays at the team hotel. But he blows me away. I didn't go to my first game until 1983, and I'm 59. I'm 58. And Paul is 52, and he went to his first game at 77. And he's been to over 700 home away and home games, and I forget what his home record is like. He's only missed, what is it? He hasn't missed a home game since 81. So his streak goes to when he was in high school. So
that's crazy.
And his home and away record is like 364. So I owe a lot to Paul, and we tailgate together now for how many years? And
I actually have his stats here because you had texted them to me when we had Paul on earlier this year, and here's a picture of him when he was at his 700th Bears game. This was years back, and he's added to this number since. But here is Paul Zawicki's, Paul the Road Warrior Zawicki's record for going to Bears games. He obtained his season tickets in 1986. As you said, he started going in 77, obtained his season tickets at the age of 18, has a current streak of attending 363 home and away games, including the preseason. Last missed an away game on September 15, 2002, 18 years ago. Had a current streak that started in 1981 of attending every home game plus preseason, which now stands at, get this, Johnny, 395 straight games. His last missed home game was October 11th, 1981, 39 years ago. That is absolutely insane. And to give context to Don, because I actually have some of your record, and them, but as you said, 199 straight home games attended, and last home game missed December 24th, 1995. I've attended approximately 330 games. You guys are absolutely insane. You make me and Johnny look like nothing.
Greg, I went to 15 games the year we won the Super Bowl, including the playoffs and Super Bowl, and I feel like I'm a loser. I feel like I didn't get to any games. I went to 15 games.
That's what I'm saying. These guys are they are inspirational, truly. And it's and what I love is your humility and how warm you guys are to hang out with too. You guys are such diehard, passionate Bears fans, but you are so good to the other fans that are around you. And I know Johnny's the same way, and I try to be the same way when I'm out with people. And I certainly enjoy you and Paul's company. And, I think more people should know when they're seeing Don the Bearman walking to the game that the man next to him is just as big of a Chicago Bears fan legend as you are, Don. As you said, there's so many diehard Bears fans out there, and he certainly fits the bill when it comes to that. And he should be recognized. And I thought, no offense to Chris Emmer or any of the guys that worked hard on the Bears beat, but I always said last year that, we had 20 guys covering the game, right? Writing the same story, talking about who won or who lost. Who cares? How about we talk about the fans that weren't at the game, and specifically fans like you and Paul that have devoted your life to this franchise, and the way Johnny devotes his life to the Chiefs franchise, and how I devote my life to all these franchises here in the city of Chicago. Like, that was an element I felt the media missed the mark on, was truly highlighting the fans that have missed in the last year. And you're hearing now with fans coming back to Wrigley Field, Anthony Rizzo, in the first game back, he's like taking it in and really listening to the fans cheering because how much they miss that. And he said how much they need that as motivation. And you certainly, anybody that's been to a football game understands how vital the crowd is, the crowd noise and the energy. And I just felt like there was a missed mark when it came to truly highlighting not just you guys but everybody that's missed. And I think trying to highlight that now is certainly something I'm trying to do, and I'm excited for you to get back to Soldier Field and do your thing. Before we let you go though, Don, obviously we had the sad news of what's going on with Steve Mongo McMichael and his battle here with ALS, and certainly, a scary thing, and not something I think anybody wants to go through. And I had a thing where I had his GoFundMe page, but it's not here. It is. I'm sorry, guys. And here's the .com for anybody that wants to help Steve Mongo McMichael in his battle against ALS. There's the GoFundMe page at the bottom of the screen. But Don, give us your thoughts here on Steve Mongo McMichael. Obviously, you watched, his playing career throughout, and I'm sure you've met him several times.
Oh yeah, met him. I mean, he's so great to meet. He's one of the few players that really takes the time to engage with the fans. Like a lot of times they say like at a bar or whatever, he'll go outside to smoke, and then he'll be talking with the fans for hours on end, and that's the way he was. I mean, he's joked with me a couple of times. I know when we played the Packers there, 2 years ago to open the season on Thursday night, I seen him outside Soldier Field. And he goes, yeah, Bearman, you need to take that paw and just whack the hell out of some Packer fan today, And then I know another time, I actually did back in 2001 when the Bears were in the playoffs against the Eagles. They did a promo, Fox did, and they had me go to near Wrigley Field there, some McDonald's. So it was me, Waddle, and Steve McMichael. They were doing a promo for their playoff preview, and I guess and the Empire Carpet guy. But so the whole idea is that they would pick me up outside on the corner, and they'd pick Mongo up, and they would pick the Empire. But I remember we were in the van there, and Mongo takes off his Super Bowl ring, and I'm in the back seat. He just throws it to me. He goes, there you go, Bearman. He goes, take a look at that, but don't jizz on it.
Steve Mongo McMichael was certainly a man with an edge. He wrestled in WWF or WCW lore with the Four Horsemen, and was one of the most legendary Chicago Bears of all time.
And he should be in the Hall of Fame. His numbers are there. I think he's the he had the third most sacks for a defensive tackle behind I think Warren Sapp and what James or with the McDaniels, Randall McDaniels, I think.
Yeah,
for the Vikings.
from the Vikings, Randall McDaniel.
I don't know. He just doesn't get the credit he should. I mean, he
well, there were
definitely
so
could be
many
the-
Hall of Famers on that 85, that vaunted 85 defense, but they certainly should include him. He was a physical force. I heard a really nice story with Tom Thayer and Jay Hilgenberg. They went and visited him recently in his battle, and Mongo said that they, to joke, or I think Tom Thayer might have told the story. Either Tom or Steve said it in his interview on Waddle and Sylvie, but Jay and Tom Thayer both, it was Tom Thayer actually, he said when they came to him, they put their hand in the dirt and they said, I think we can handle him now, to just kind of get, ease the tension a little bit. And it sounded really sweet. And, you like to see how these guys stick together. I actually did have a video I was going to share at the start of the show, but with everything kind of getting crammed up, I didn't get the opportunity to. So here is Steve Mongo McMichael at one of his final moments with, all the Bears fans together at Bears 100. And he was announced, they did all the decades, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and current Bears. And then they obviously highlighted the 85 Bears. And Steve McMichael was recognized as a top 20 Chicago Bear of all time. And we're talking about a cornerstone franchise, a charter franchise of the National Football League. So he is obviously, will live in history forever. Yeah. And this is Steve Mongo McMichael talking about being remembered in history forever. So here it is from Bears 100.
And then watch, you were born to be a Bear, but to be considered a top 20 in the 100-year history, what does it mean to you?
That's unbounded history. Everybody wants their name to be spoken through eternity, right? What you do in life speaks eternally. And I am so glad that it's Chicago Bear and part of you guys history.
Steve Michael, 80s Bears.
There it is. As Steve Mongo McMichael says, what you do in life speaks eternal, baby. And I think that is a great proper message from Steve. And it certainly resonated with me when he said that. Put chills down my spine, right? Listening to it right there, knowing what he's going through, a very scary disease, ALS. And we know he's tough as nails and is going to battle through it, but he's got a long
keep
road.
Him in our prayers, him and his family, wife Misty and daughter Macy, and they're going to need a lot of help here. I mean, a lot of people think, football players, they, are financially well set, but that's not the case. I mean, they're not, they didn't make the money like they do today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's certainly got a battle on his hands, and I know a lot of people have already the GoFundMe page that became public knowledge about a week ago already is almost at like $200,000. I think I saw. And Chris Jericho from the WCW lore back in the day, I think he put up like $15,000 or $20,000. And so he's got all different people, and I also have heard through the grapevine that the Chicago Bears are trying to do everything they can to help as well. And I know George McCaskey always tries to do right by his players and the people that work for him. So certainly in his corner, obviously we all are here at Bragg's in the stands, but a scary thing nonetheless. And yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun chopping it up with you. You got Matt Mahalski in the chat, one of our good tailgating friend.
Hey, Matt.
He's giving you a shout out, and Hall. He said he's apologizing because he just put Bearman, but he said Hall of Fame Bearman. Put some respect on that name, yes, sir. You're a Hall of Famer.
When I sign my signature, I can put HOF.
Well, you know what they say, because Hester's going to be in the Hall of Fame here coming up next year. And I certainly I would love to get an autograph where he's able to put the HOF, but I've always found it interesting that an autograph is actually worth more before the HOF becomes something they put on the signature
Really?
because it predates once they were in. But yeah, of course, once Hester gets in, I'm going to need another autograph from him that says HOF on it, because for me, you've seen so many Bears throughout your life. I was born in 1985. I was only 2 months old when the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl, but I was alive. But I would like to see another one, because that one I don't quite remember. But Devin Hester, for me, is my favorite and probably will always be my favorite Chicago Bear of all time. And he better be a first round Hall of Fame candidate, despite what John Yurkovich says on the ESPN 1000 airways, because he's always saying he shouldn't be in all this garbage. But don't listen to Yurk. He don't know what he's talking about. No. To me, Devin Hester is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Very few players can say they revolutionized the sport. And Devin Hester did that. And now, yes, they've changed the kickoff rules, so maybe some people cannot elevate to the level that Devin Hester once had here in Chicago, but I don't care. Put him in the Hall of Fame. And I've never been to Canton. The day he gets to the Hall of Fame will be my first day in Canton. You can bet your ass on that. So again, Don, you're an incredible fan, a really good friend I've gotten to know over the last few years, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know you and your story. I apologize for this being your first time here on Brags in the Stands, being as close of friends as we've become. You'd think I'd have had you on sooner, but I had Paul the Road Warrior on early in the year, and I wanted to give him a spotlight. I'd said, you can come on with Paul, and you were like, no, let him have his moment in the sun and let him, have the spotlight on him. And that's what I respect about you, Don. You're so humble, and you don't, all the regalia and everything else. It isn't all about you. It is truly about you giving back to the fans around you, and that is commendable.
That's what I miss too here. Not being around the fans on game day, taking pictures with them. Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Well,
when I was at the tailgate there a couple of years ago, when Greg brought me out to your guys' tailgate spot before that late season Chiefs Bears game, I saw you over there, and it was a great time. And I wasn't the only Chiefs fan there. There were some other ones. I met a lot of great people, but for me, that was the moment. I saw you on TV many times. Greg had talked about you, and meeting you that day, and now getting to know you a little bit here on this this show. I could tell that you're 1,000% exactly what we are with the fans, and how important it is just with the game and the NFL and just the whole experience of it. And I appreciate you taking care of me and hanging out when I was there.
Sure. My pleasure, Johnny B. My pleasure.
Well, Don, normally I have our special guests give a station ID where they say, hey, this is Don the Bearman, you're listening to Brags in the Stands, but I got to be honest, I almost just want to wait until you're in your full regalia when we're at the tailgate. It's almost like, not to say that we can't do one now, but I just feel like we're gonna to do it right. We're gonna get you, once you're back up in your full regalia. We'll get the video, no problem. I mean, we're both from the region, so we should be hanging out soon in no time.
Congratulations on your new house.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Don. We're going to be having a housewarming party probably sometime around preseason time, and maybe we can have a huge get-together where everybody comes by and we watch a game that has no importance, no significance to it, and we can just enjoy each other's company and not swear at the TV while our team is screwing up. So I'm trying to maybe put that into works, but I got to get moved in first. It's about 5-6 weeks away, but I appreciate that. I'm very excited. It was a 8-month journey, and my mom, where I'm living at my mom's right now, and we were saving up the money, but certainly getting tight in here, and looking forward to being able to spread my legs in my own place, and looking forward to having you come by and watching a game and sharing a drink and breaking some bread. You're a good man and a good friend. I look forward to hanging out with you here real soon, Don.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Johnny B.
Of course. There he is, Don the Bearman, taking off, and we'll catch up with you soon. Enjoy the draft, my friend.
I will. Thanks, guys.
All right. There he is, the legend himself, Don the Bearman. Inspirational, to say the least. Right, Johnny B?
What a guy, man. Like I said, I got to chat with him just a little bit, obviously, at the tailgate there in, when the Chiefs last played the Bears at Soldier Field. And as an opposing fan, he had no idea I was from Chicago originally, obviously, but he was a very popular guy, but he did take a couple of minutes to chat with me and, about this and that, and, he said how he liked the team and Mahomes and all that. And we took a picture and a little video together. So, and now that I get to see him even more, I can see the passion that is just inside of him. I feel that passion every day.
How about those numbers from him and Paul? Isn't that insane?
That is insane. I remember the Super Bowl year when we won it in Miami. I was at 15 games total, including the 2 playoff games and then the third game, the Super Bowl. And it felt like I was just like in the hotel and like with the team. I was there so much. But I mean, those type of numbers are crazy.
I don't think anybody can match it. I don't think there's going to be ever another fan, because especially nowadays with the way ticket prices are and things like that, they started back when sports maybe weren't as popular to go to as much, and the ticket prices might have been different. I mean, heck, you watched The Last Dance with the Michael Jordan documentary. His first few years at the old Chicago Stadium, nobody's at the games. I'm watching this on The Last Dance documentary, and I'm just thinking about how I would have been courtside watching Michael Jordan do windmill dunks because nobody's there, and it's just such a different culture of going to games now.
Did you ever get to see Jordan play live?
Of course I did. The year they went 72-10, I saw 2 games.
I was at 2 games that year as well.
I saw them play Boston, and I think it was their second home game. Being able to see Rodman, it was such a Rodman hysteria when we first got him. And then I went, my mom, it was one of my favorite Christmas presents ever from my mom. Yes, this one was from my mom, not from the elves, okay?
Are you sure, man?
I'm positive, because the big ones were either from Santa or from my mom, and this one was from my mom, I believe. And she wrapped tickets in a little box and then put it in like 16 bigger boxes. I had to keep opening the box, and I didn't know what it was. And when I got to the bottom, it was Bulls versus Orlando Magic, Shaquille O'Neal, Anthony Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Horace Grant versus Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper, Luke Longley, Tony Kukoc. I mean, star-studded. It was NBA on NBC, a Sunday afternoon affair. I will never forget it. We sat high up in the rafters, but it was one of the most amazing moments. The Boston game, we were very close to the floor. I was like talking to the broadcast announcers. I took one of the they had like team sheets that they give out to the coaches, and I grabbed one when we were there, and my sister actually fell asleep while we were like 4 rows back, and I could have taken a friend that would have really appreciated the time. And I always used to remember we used to give her crap that she fell asleep at one of the greatest shows you'll ever see. And but yes, I got to see Michael Jordan in person twice, and I went to his basketball camp.
Yeah, we know the infamous story.
So I got my full share of Jordan as much as I could as a young 11, 10, 12-year-old. I wish I probably was a little bit older for all that, because, I appreciated it as much as a 12-year-old could. I was obsessive about Michael Jeffrey Jordan, but, it would have been nice to be just a little older, and that way I could have appreciated the start of his journey with Chicago, because when he was drafted, I was literally just being born. So.
Yeah, well, I got to say, those second 3 championships, I was in the city a lot. I was around the country doing my thing all over the place. And those second 3 championships, man, with Rodman there and all those craziness and those characters, I mean, the city was buzzing. That 72-10 season, it was buzzing. I mean, the parties after the games, I mean, it was a crazy time. I remember when they won it in the streets of Chicago. I was there, all of them, one time with my sister, and we're going down Lakeshore Drive, and people are just parking cars and just leaving the cars on Lakeshore Drive, man. It was like crazy time, party central. I'll never forget it, man.
And Rodman was right in the middle of it all while they were flipping and Bearman cards. I can remember the coverage every time the Bulls would win, and it would be
everything that you saw was true. I mean,
oh yeah. And I used to dream about rioting after a Bulls championship as a kid because I couldn't go. And then like when the 03 Cubs almost won it, I was at Game 7 after the infamous Bearman game, and when Kerry Wood hit a game-tying home run, I turned to my mom. I was like, "I'm rioting after this game," and then they ended up losing, so I didn't get to riot. But yeah, I can always remember those the coverage of those crazy parties after the Bulls would win. But yes, Matt Mahalski in the chat, diehard Chicago Bear fan and a legendary tailgater. He was actually the family with the RV that we were hanging out with when we were talking with Bearman. He says he's bringing the rig when we have the big house party. Right. So we'll be able to have like a little offset rig to hop in and do some shots in.
Your new neighbors know of your hooligan friends.
Man, they are in store for a treat, my neighbors, for a lot of different reasons. But yes, when he brings the rig, we'll have to do some shots in there for sure, because I miss being in that big Bears tailgating rig. I wish I'd have loaded it into the hopper to show the audience, because it's awesome. And they had at that tailgate, they have so many great RVs and setups. A lot of diehard Bears fans, including Don the Bearman and Paul the Road Warriors Zawecki. But before we get to the final segment of our show and get to wrapping things up, I've been starting to become friendly with a company around here that does a lot of good memorabilia work, and they're called the Collector's Cave. And I personally have like, not to humble brag here, but I have like 40 signed jerseys that I'm getting ready to have these guys put together, because I'm going to decorate the whole basement and garage and everything else.
What city?
So they're located in Dyer, and they professionally frame jerseys, and they're on Facebook and on Twitter. They're called the Collector's Cave. They do an amazing job of nicely framing your jersey. They give you 2 8x10 photos with a nice platelet, and they give you a good deal on that. And they can do a lot of different things for you. And they're really nice people. And I've been talking with them, and I promised that I'd talk about this Jim McMahon public autograph signing that's coming up on Saturday, June 26th. And make sure you get your tickets. If you're in the Northwest Indiana area, the region, you can have a chance to, meet and greet and get an autograph from Jim McMahon, legendary 85 Bear. And like I said, it's on Saturday, June 26th, and it's going to be at 10534 Golden Grove Avenue in Dyer, Indiana.
Afternoon.
So, yes.
That's punky QB style right there. What time? I don't know. The afternoon.
Yes. Well, hey, what Jimmy Mack says is what goes. So we just got to wait and find out exactly what time once he lets us know. And then they also have another very cool promotional idea, where if you go on their Facebook page and you like this post that you see here on the screen, and you invite 10 members, they have a few different rules, and then successfully predict the Bears' first round pick, you have a chance to win a mystery box from the Collector's Cave and a minimum value of $150. So, and they have some really cool stuff. I was over at their office because, like I said, Mike, who works over at the Collector's Cave, he's also a real estate agent, and not real estate, insurance agent, I should say. And when I was in his office dropping off some stuff that I want framed, he had some amazing framed jerseys and different memorabilia in there. So I promise you, it's worthwhile for you to go like their Facebook page and enter into this contest and have a chance to win some free stuff. I mean, it's really that simple. So, if you want to win some free stuff for the draft tomorrow, all you got to do is get the pick right. Might be a little harder to get the pick right than it is to enter, but hey, it doesn't hurt you anything. It's free. And Mike and the guys over at Collector's Cave are really good dudes. So that's our second little commercial here. And we're certainly going to be doing a little more work with them. I'm going to try to do as best I can to help them out promoting their stuff. And he's been really good to me. And
things I need framed that I've been kind of holding off on. As you know, I moved in my house a little while ago, but it's not, I'm not ready to put all the stuff together. I got to get a couple stuff framed. I got a Honey Badger jersey, like a Super Bowl one. I got a Damian Williams, who is a Super Bowl hero, with a Super Bowl inscription jersey. So,
and isn't Damian Williams on the Bears now?
Yeah, man, he's on the Bears.
There you go. So now we got Damian. That's a decent fit for running back to kind of offset what our guy David Montgomery does here in Chicago. But yes, they do really great work, and I'm putting them to task. Like I said, not to humble brag too much, but I've ascertained a lot of Bears, Cubs, Bulls, a whole bunch of different jerseys, Irish, and they've all been personally signed, going to training camp or going to Wrigley Field and harassing the players. I mean, one of my great passions, aside from all the stuff we do on here and on social media, is the autograph hunt. I always have enjoyed getting a good autograph. It's kind of like my boss would always be like, why do you care about these autographs? So it's like, he hunts deer and then he hangs the antlers. I like to get the autograph and hang them up and appreciate the experience in the moment I had. One of the best autographs I ever got was from Julius Peppers at a training camp. This guy had hands like bricks. I'm a bricklayer, so I should know is the biggest hand I've ever shook, the strongest hand I've ever shook. And he looked me right in the eye, shook my hand as nice as could be, and then asked him nicely if he could sign sign the jersey I had. And as he was signing it, what I appreciated when at training camp, it can be chaotic, and if fans are hounding for autographs, and sometimes players will just kind of scribble something to get you out of the way. Here you go, scribble and go. Julius Peppers, I'll never forget it. Couldn't, because I didn't have anything underneath that was hard backed, for him to sign on the jersey. And he was like, hey, do you mind stretching the jersey out real tight so I can give you a good autograph? He literally said that verbatim to me. I was like, absolutely, Julius. Thank you. This was his first day ever at training camp at Bourbonnais, and I stretched it out, and he gave me one of the most beautiful autographs I've ever had on a jersey. And I just appreciated how much he, took pride in how it looked for me, and I've had a lot of great experiences getting some different autographs. I got a Steph Curry signed Davidson jersey. I got some really cool jerseys, and then obviously all the great Cubs. Chris Bryant, I've gotten a couple of those, and then I've got 3 Devin Hesters, 1 college that I need friends. So I know I'm humble bragging. My last name's Bragg, so I guess I got to stick to my family name and brag a little bit. I'm very excited to get all these jerseys framed, and I'm gonna hang them up in my basement, in my garage. I've got some different ideas for some of the smaller name players. I'm gonna just do smaller boxes where it's just the name and the number. I'm so excited for this, Johnny, as you can tell.
Yeah,
and then
a lot of thought into this.
And then I've been thinking about it my whole life. I mean, as I've been starting to collect these, and then for the main room downstairs where the TVs are going to be and the whole setup in the main basement room inside, not the garage, I'm going to do just the 23s that I have signed. So that is Irish Golden Tate, Bears Devin Hester, Bulls Michael Jordan, and then of course, who am I missing here? Who am I missing now? I got Bulls, Bears, Cubs, Irish, and then, of course, with Purdue, my newfound love of the Purdue Boilermakers, number 23, Jaden Ivey is going to have to be up on that wall. And, of course,
I thought you were going to say Robin Ventura or something.
No, and I got respect for – and then I did say – maybe I didn't say Sandberg for Cubs, but that's the other 23. Wow. So you got Hester, Sandberg, Jordan, Golden Tate, and Jaden Ivey, all 23s for all the teams that I love. And then I'll have to get the set for that'll be in the main room, but then the podcast room, then that's where I'll get the Sasha 55 inked up, because one day I'll be bugging him for that. Mr. Big Time over there splashing down for the Purdue Boilermakers. Looking forward to
a 3-point contest on this show, me versus Sasha.
Well, I think you would lose very badly. Yes.
I beat Reggie Miller and Vince Carter in a 3-point contest once at NBA Hoops restaurant. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. Do you want to tell this story? Because I
can. So I was in Orlando. It was one of the first trips that my wife had gone with me, and she was not my wife at the time. So this NBA restaurant was open up, and the day before, Reggie Miller and Vince Carter were there, and they had this 3-point. It was like an interactive type thing. So basically, they had the 2 top spots on the thing. It was Reggie Miller number 1, and then Vince Carter was number 2, and then there was like 4 or 5 other names of people that came to the restaurant after that. So I come the very next day, and it's all hyped up, and there's some other NBA guys there, not as big names at the time. So I'm telling people I play. A lot of people don't know that, but I did play at a high level. I did hit 11 3-pointers once in one single game in high school. So that is something don't know.
Knockdown.
And I'm there, and there's a bunch of people around. I said, I'm about to light this up. So everyone's looking around. I've got shorts on, just like a regular shirt, like I got a backwards baseball hat on. So Abs is sitting there, and it's on. And I start shooting. I missed the first one, and then I just start rolling. Boom, 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 one after the next. So the time's running out. It comes down to it. I got to make the last one to take the top spot. I jump up. I hold the gooseneck. I look to the crowd because there was quite a lot of people there because it was like a grand opening, giving stuff away, autographs. Look to the crowd to the right. Splash. Place goes nuts. I get mobbed. Top spot.
Wow. Johnny B.
A lot of people think that was
a man of many talents.
Yeah, that's what signed, sealed, delivered abs to say, oh my God, this guy has got to be the one because I just took the top spot, baby. Missed the first one and then didn't miss.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me a story about how you walked on the moon once. You're just like that you're like the Homer Simpson of Brags and Stands, where you have done so many things, traveled around the world, you tennis instructor, duck race connoisseur, Chiefs hype man. You're a man that wears many hats, and now we add another hat to the list. Knockdown 3-point shooter.
I used to have this buddy of mine. He was a real good friend of mine. He used to play some pro events with me when I played as doubles, and he would say to people would say, Johnny B, that story is not true. And my buddy Marco would say, well, the funny thing is he didn't even tell you the entire story. He goes, because he thought you wouldn't think is true. But the one thing about Johnny B is that all of his stories and the stuff that happens in his travels and the travels that we have together is 100% true.
I love it. I love it, Johnny B. And not to play the one-up game, but maybe I've told this story before, but when I did go to Michael Jordan's basketball camp, because it's been a long time since I shot the rock with consistency, but I did have a good shot as a kid because I worked on it like a madman outside trying to be like Mike. And even though I had a very unorthodox shot form, me and my good friend Pete Lackage, we were cold-blooded shooters, thank you very much, in our Crown Point Pups City League in the region. But we didn't play no high school ball because all we did was party too much. But I will say my claim to fame in a 3-point shooting contest was at Michael Jordan's basketball camp, which was one of the greatest experiences of my life. 1 week at Elmhurst College, learning every day from Michael Jordan. He was there every single day and taught different groups, different age classes. And then at the end, they had all these different functions, Q&A, and you do all these different things. And one of the 2 out of the 7 days, they had a 3-point contest. And I was on fire for this contest. And the funny thing was, I almost missed the contest. I got into the gymnasium. I'll never forget it. And I was like the last to go because I was like running across this campus from where we were just at doing a different training thing. Right. Come busting in and they're like, you want in this? I was like, yes, it's the only thing I'm good at. Please let me be in the 3-point contest. So I was like last to go, which what helped me because they told me the number I had to get to advance. And it just like, for me, it's just like, okay, this is what I got to do. I knew I was capable. And I'll never forget it because they had all these kids sitting right outside the 3-point line, kind of just sitting cross-legged Indian style, crisscross applesauce, as I heard on Twitter a few weeks ago. And they're all sitting there, and this one kid was like, this dude ain't got nothing because you could just the way I shot, it was like Sam Perkins. Like, I shot like this, but I had it down to a science, as a kid. I don't anymore. If I shot the ball now, I'd embarrass myself if I'm being honest. And now all I do is just rebound and box people out with my big butt. And but I was on fire that day. And I couldn't miss. I can't remember exactly how many missed, but I easily advanced. And then the rest of the tournament that day, I was on fire, completely on fire. And we get to the final 4 and I beat the guy next to me and I am geared up. Like my adrenaline's pumping like I've never felt in my life. And it was getting ready to be the championship. And I thought we were going to play it right then and there. A lot of these courts were on tennis courts where they had makeshift hoops. And I'd just taken this guy down. The first one was in the gymnasium. Then the second and third round were at this other tennis court because they're moving us all over the place. And I beat him to get to the finals. And they're like, okay, championship is tonight in the main gymnasium with Michael frickin' Jordan watching me. And I got to be honest, it was in my head the rest of the night. I'm thinking about it. And we go one-on-one. Everybody's in there. And I completely choked. And I didn't completely choke. I mean, I I think if I remember correctly, I had a respectable showing. It wasn't like I bricked every shot, but the guy that beat me ultimately, and I didn't win the championship round, but to be able to get, and it was just in our age group. It wasn't like the entire the every person that was there, because there was people all the way in college that were there. So it was just our age bracket, and then there was championship rounds for the other age brackets. So, but it was my claim to fame for a long time, and I felt like leaving there. I had a shot because I did so well there. I actually hit a game-winning shot one day, and we had 5-on-5s, and they picked all-star teams and everything. I was on fire. I mean, I was completely on fire, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It was the first time I was away from my mom on my own at a college as a 11-year-old kid in 1997. Michael Jordan is like my idol, and he's driving up in a Ferrari every day that says M Air J on the freaking back on the license plate. And it was incredible. I still have video. They gave a DVD of the whole week's experience, and I'm on it like 16 times because you know me, I loved the camera.
You counted it?
Yeah, I'd run in front of the camera and yell some crazy shit.
You know, that other guy in the finals is telling the same story with just a little bit different twist at the end.
Oh, yes, he is.
Story nonetheless.
It was a great time. And the craziest part of that whole week, if that wasn't all crazy already within itself, you know, I did tell the story about how I asked the stupidest question imaginable in the Q&A, which was embarrassing, but of course another choked moment. You know, can't make all the shots you take, I guess. But the other crazy moment of that camp was, and we've gone on a complete Michael Jordan tangent here, but why not? Because Michael Jordan's the GOAT and my inspiration of why I'm a sports fan today. And what was crazy about that camp was my roommate. We all had roommates, just like when you go to a college dorm. My roommate was this guy named Sean Brown, and he lived in Illinois or somewhere. And we got to know each other, and we were asking each other where we're from and things of that nature. And I said, I'm from Lakes of the Four Seasons in Winfield, Indiana. And he literally like looked like a ghost and was like, I'm literally moving to Lakes of the Four Seasons in Winfield, Indiana in 5 months. And I was like, it was like the Truman Show. Like we honestly couldn't believe it. And but throughout the week became great friends, and we had an amazing time. We're eating Skittles and pizza every night and just being little kids. And sure enough, 5 months later, my roommate, who I'd never met before in my life, it moves into Lakes of the Four Seasons, where I grew up. I'm sitting in this house right now in Lakes of the Four Seasons. Right? And he ended up living on the Porter side, and we hung out for quite some time. As we got to high school, we started to kind of part ways, but he was a really good guy, and a crazy, just small world kind of moment. So certainly one I will never forget. Another thing I'll never forget, before we jet on out of here, had a nice long show here talking to Bearman, talking to Chris Emma from 670 The Score. But here's a shot of, you want to talk about moments I'll never forget. You know, I don't take for granted being able to go to games anymore. We've gone to so many in our lives, me and you, Johnny B, but certainly not to Bearman and Paul, the Road Warriors level. But we love going to these games, and to be able to not go to Soldier Field or Wrigley Field last year was very hard on me. I was lucky enough to go to a Bears game in Nashville, Tennessee, to see them lose to the Titans. Very ugly game, but I was honored to be able to go and at least see them once. Got to go to a few Purdue games this year, which was an honor to get press credentials here at Bragg's in the Stands. That was a really cool experience, and then see them in the tournament. Ultimately, they lost, which was tough, but being able to return to Wrigley Field this year has been a great moment of relief for me, because it is my sanctuary, as is Soldier Field. And, I've already gone to a couple games in the regular stands, but the bleachers is where my home and my heart is. And I was able to return to the bleachers here this past week. I was able to go with my good friend, who's becoming a good friend of mine, Trey Tunes from the Trey Tunes Show. He's live on Twitch Monday through Friday from 12 to 2. And there's Trey to my right. And as we were about to enter the bleachers, Trey, you could see, had a really good time. This was his first ever game at Wrigley Field, period. First ever game going to Wrigley Field. It was a really cool experience. And here's some video of me walking into the bleachers for the first time. And when you see the site, it's kind of understandable to understand why I felt so emotional and so happy to be back. So here it is.
And playing center field, number 6, Jay Bearman. And batting 9.
Man, you want to talk about
that's a great video. It almost looked like you were like directing a movie. You like walk up, the sun is just trickling over. You get a little glare of the sunshine like from the heavens. You got the announcer with his very manly and perfect voice announcing the starting lineups. I mean, did you set that up or did that just happen when you walked up?
Well, this is the magic we create here at Bragg's in the stands. And yeah, I fancy myself in being able to capture the most unique and impressive shots I can. And I've gotten better with it as the years have gone on. But yeah, I had to do a walk up. You know, when you're in the regular stands, you do the walk up the steps and behind home plate. Right. There appears Wrigley Field and the scoreboard and all. But I love the bleacher walk in as it curls around and you see the structure and the architecture of the building. It's the bricks curled around as you're walking and the steel beams. And then it's almost like a picture window the way you come out the tunnel, and there it is. And yes, the sun was perfectly lit on the field. That wasn't planned, but fitting because it was 584 days since I had been to Wrigley Field, or in the bleachers at Wrigley Field, I should say. And that was as fitting a moment as I could possibly have. And then luckily, you know, for Trey Tunes and I, and as I said, Trey, was his first game ever at Wrigley Field. And I told him as we were driving there, you know, I quietly always root for the walk-off when I go to a game, and we were able to get just that. Here was the double play that set up the eventual Cubs winner. There it is. You hear the roar of the crowd, even at limited capacity at 25%, a little over 10,000 fans there, just to feel the energy of the crowd in that moment. A bases loaded jam they got out of, double play to end the inning in the top of the half of the 10th inning, because now we're starting runners on second base when you get to the extras. I don't know how much. Yeah, they were doing that last year.
I know, it's just so crazy, man.
I wish they would have ditched it for this year, but they haven't. They want to get these games over with, which I can understand to a certain extent, but for me, it's like it just feels wrong. And also, you're spotting. I mean, they almost took the lead there, and then they would have been able to go to their closer. Something seems unfair about starting the runner at second, but letting the road team have first crack at it, because most teams are going to get a run across with a runner starting on second with nobody out. So you're basically letting the road team get the lead first.
And then put the closer in.
Yeah, and then they're able to adjust their bullpen accordingly. And to me, there's an unfair advantage in that. And they need to look into that a little more. But luckily for the Cubs, they got that double play. We're able to get out of the inning. And then, of course, here was the amazing walk-off winner that Greg is always waiting for when he gets in the stand. So here it is. There it is.
Professional video shooter. I saw that video. I showed it to Abs. And I said, what do you think needs to change about this video? I said, Greg being the man, you know, he's there with Trey. It's his first game. He gets the game-winning hit. He gets the run to score. He gets the celebration, the mob around first base. What is the only thing, if I can be a little critical,
Okay. All right.
what do you got to do there? Your boy's at his first game. I hear the guy in the back saying there's brooms in the back. You got to flip that phone around, bro. You got to grab Trey by the arm with the brooms in the back, and you got to show yourself singing, "Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go!"
I used to do a lot of energy reaction shots like you're referencing, and maybe I should have in that moment. I was going to do like a Cubs show where we had Trey on, talk about his experience, maybe bring on a Cubs guest. Haven't really been able to get to that, being so busy. I do have an epic video of him singing the 7th inning stretch in the bleachers, where most of the video is of him singing it. And that's where I got this epic picture of him. It almost looks like he's like thanking the good Lord that he's at Wrigley, but he's actually singing.
I thought that was the win.
It's no, he's actually singing the 7th inning stretch. And that's when they're saying 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game, and he puts his hands in the air, and I just happened to, during the video, do a little screenshot moment as he's singing it. But no, when a walk-off happens and you hear Bleacher Jeff, who we were hanging out with, here's Bleacher Jeff after the game, hanging out, indulging with some of his friends, and my Thai guy, another bleacher bum, who is a veteran out there. And these guys are really good dudes. Their whole bleacher crew, they always are in the left field well. And these guys are all really good dudes, show you the ropes and everything else, and are very nice and grateful with their time to the fans, just like Bearman is. Right. But yeah, Jeff was yelling at me, turn around, a guy's got a broom, and I'm locked in. Like for me, a lot of times when somebody does a video, they end it too soon. You always keep it locked on the moment, because you just don't know what's going to happen. They could run out with 4 Gatorade cans and start showering J-Hay as he hits the walk-off. There's so many moments, and it's like you can only capture one. So yes, maybe I appreciate, constructive criticism, and absolutely, maybe I should have found a way to get Trey into the shot. I've kind of taken myself out of a lot of shots I do when I do games, although maybe I should try to integrate that a little more, because people enjoy less of the professional and a little more of the fan.
Yeah, I thought you got a lot of the moment, and I just thought that would have been a good time, just to flip it, get those brooms in the back. Obviously, you're in the bleachers. You're probably going to get some of the flags in the back above you in the scoreboard. And then obviously it's the first game. It's a walk-off, which you were wishing for on the drive in.
That's right.
A little professionalism. I will say I do that a lot, and they're very good videos, especially personally when you go back and look at them. There have been a few times when I have got the shot, and then when I turn it around because you're flipping the phone over, sometimes you hit the wrong button. I'm not going to say it didn't happen.
Well, and to me, it's also about getting the moment, and so you certain things, and you can only capture so much, so you're going to miss things. But if I keep it tight, most of the time that does me right. But there's more than one way to do it, and I certainly will take on that that advice, and maybe I'll try to integrate a little more of the fan of what's going on. I've become such a professional videographer when I go to games that I try to keep it to what's going on the field for the most part, unless I'm capturing a moment in the stands, like a couple years ago when Yogi was balancing the hat on his head, and then I highlight what he's doing. And vice versa. So there's some give and take and some play with it, but certainly something I'll take into account. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, it was a great moment at Wrigley Field as I cough here. But really excited for everything. I also was able to last week to get back on the microphone for Region Sports Network at the beautiful field over at Lake Central High School. And they actually had a walk-off winner too. I didn't capture the video because I was working, calling the game, but I did get an opportunity to capture this video, and you can see the young buck that hit the walk-off, and I apologize for not having his name written down, but he hit the walk-off. You see as the team's coming to him. It was a really fun moment, and I always appreciate all the opportunities Region Sports Network gives me to, be able to stretch my legs and try to call a few games at basketball and high school baseball. They do great work over there at Region Sports Network. Chris Ramirez and Nathan Laird, good people. So, I think that about gets to the end. One last thing, Johnny B, have you had an opportunity to see Mortal Kombat yet?
I have not got a chance to see it. I've been following my peeps on, Twitter and stuff that are talking about it, even some of the players on the Chiefs, and I will check it out. I did play a little bit of Mortal Kombat. I wasn't by any means a huge video game guy. Still am not. It's just not my jam. But I did play some Mortal Kombat back in the day. I would throw that little hook with Scorpion right in your face and then give you the uppercut, so I definitely will check it out,
I've seen a lot of hate on it on Twitter, but everybody's a critic on Twitter, but I found it to be very entertaining. We watched it in 2 parts, because we were so old over here. We could barely stay up, and we made it halfway through, and we're like, let's finish it tomorrow. And that's not an indictment on the movie. That just shows how old we are, because it was extremely entertaining. And it was funny because Sonya Blade, not to give up too many spoilers, but is from Gary, Indiana in the movie, and they go to her house. So it's like the region, but it was just kind of funny the way they portrayed Gary, Indiana, because it was like there was like mountains, and it was like so out of place. And obviously a lot of people recognize Gary, Indiana in movies, The Music Man, and obviously Michael Jackson is from Gary, Indiana. So has a lot of Gary is infamous town, obviously, in the region. So I loved that it was a part of the movie personally, because I always love when the region is represented well, and what better way to be represented than one of the biggest movies going on right now, because there's so very few movies going on. But I loved it. I thought it was very entertaining. Wasn't sure where they were going with it at first, but seems like it could become a series kind of a thing. And certainly was the fight scenes were awesome, and they introduced some different new characters that maybe I wasn't familiar with, but I was fine with everything they did. And I found, I don't need Mortal Kombat to win the Oscars.
Yeah, I never understood when people said that. Obviously, what you're getting into with a lot of movies. If the movie's there and it's to entertain, that's one thing. And obviously, the movies that win awards for whatever, or the really in-depth pictures, those are there for a reason. But if you're just gonna chill out and watch a movie to entertain yourself, I got no problem with a Mortal Kombat or a Godzilla versus King Kong or something like that. It's made to entertain. It's not made to win the Academy Award, like you said.
Right. So I highly suggest you check it out. I'm gonna watch King Kong versus Godzilla here real soon on HBO Max, but we watched that first, and I found it to be very entertaining. So that were some of my thoughts on that. So again, I think this wrap things up for this. We'll put a bow on Brags in the Stands for tonight. Again, I want to thank everybody that's tuned in. We really appreciate everybody watching. And of course, I want to thank our guest, Chris Emma from 670thescore.com and 670 The Score on Twitch and on your AM radio. And you can follow them along in the coverage they're going to have for the NFL draft tomorrow night. I'm sure will be top notch, and Chris Emma always is bringing it for Bears coverage. So make sure you follow him along on Twitter at CEMA670. And then of course, Don the Bearman. There he is hanging out with Johnny B a few years ago at the tailgate. We will always thank Don for his time and his dedication and his humility and just everything he does, his passion for the Chicago Bears. Can't say enough nice things about Don. He is a great person and a great fan, obviously, as he's in the Ford Hall of Fame. So he deserves a lot more accolades beyond that. And so does his good buddy, Paul Zawicki, the Road Warrior. And I tried to highlight that as best we could today here on Brags in the Stands. I also want to thank our sponsors again, of course, Fan Bags and my guy, Brian Potter. This is the time of year when bags are getting busted out and guys are getting smoked on them boards. Anybody that wants to take a roll with me, Big Bags Brags, ready to take you down.
I still owe you $100. I mean,
anytime, any place. I can't talk about people that owe me money, because I think I owe Kyle Lilly, who's the best bags player in our crew. I think I owe him like $800 from a drunken night of like 4 double downs, and he just kept beating me. And like one time it was like, all right, 1 bag, double or nothing. and I made it, and I thought I wiped my debt, and then he got one throw and he freaking sunk it. I was like, this. He's like the Terminator. Like you cannot stop.
He did
this
not
guy.
take second place in the Michael Jordan.
I also want to thank the Collector's Cave for all their help here this week as I'm starting to formulate my plan for my man cave. And again, make sure you check out their Facebook and Twitter page. They've got some cool things going on. The Jim McMahon signing, of course, as we mentioned, coming up on Saturday, June 26th. And then, of course, if you quickly go to their Facebook page tonight and follow these rules, like the post, invite 10 members, and successfully predict the Bears' first-round draft pick, you have multiple winners have an opportunity to win a mystery box of a minimum value of $150, and it's free. No better thing than that. And then, of course, my guy, Trey Tunes, had so much fun with him at the Cubs game. This guy is a real one, as they say. We had some really good conversation and a really good time at the Cubs game, and you can watch his show on Twitch, as I was saying earlier, weekdays 12 to 2, live only on Twitch. They have a lot of fun. Chat room is always really fired up. You know, it's they call them long streamers on ESPN 1000 Twitch, and we all kind of hop over for a little sabbatical from the ESPN 1000 Twitch to go over to the Trey Tunes show live only on Twitch as he does his magic. And it's a lot of fun because he does it. It's like here we plan stuff. We got guests. We got questions written out and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He has zero plan. He just hits live and lets the chips fall where they may. And I can respect a man that's able to pull off a 2-hour show 5 days a week doing that. And they do it. It's very entertaining. And Trey is a really good guy. So make sure you check him out and all that jazz. Trey's a really good man. So again, I think that wraps things up. But before we go, as Johnny B always does, you mentioned some prop bets. So if you want to throw in some of your prop bets for tomorrow night's draft and then close it however you want, the floor is yours for however long you want. I'll do the shutting up now.
Well, first of all, I hit Vooch again tonight with the over 2.5 3-pointers. I also took Randall in the same game over 2.5 3-pointers. Both of those guys cast for me. But what it's about the NFL draft. There's all sorts of different types of bets you can make. You can, the top 3, the top 5, who makes the top 10. But I do like Jalen Waddle going in the top 10. I do like that pick at minus 150. Amazing talent. I know he had a little bit of injuries or whatever, and he might drop a little bit, but I just think he's going to be too hard to pass for somebody. And I just have this feeling, man, I don't trust the San Francisco 49ers. Are they really drafting up and giving up all that number to go number 3 to draft Mac Jones? I don't think so. I think it's going to be Justin Fields at plus 500. $100 gets you $500. I mean, that's a pretty good odds right there. I'm trying to put a little bit on that. I don't know if I'll put 100, but I might have put a little something on that. And then, if you have another pick you might like, you can hit me up on Twitter, and maybe I'll bet that too. Who knows? But draft is fun, and good luck and hope everybody gets the guy they're looking for. The Chiefs are not in the first round now because we traded to get Orlando Brown Jr. So it's all Bears now. So hopefully you get your guy.
Johnny, this is not how you end your segments because you always say money.
Yeah. Well, it's not officially the Johnny B for 3, but everybody knows, especially tonight when I'm well into the green, money won is far sweeter than money earned, baby.
All day long, bringing the energy, bringing the heat here on Brags in the Stands. I appreciate all your time. We've been doing 2-hour plus shows here the last couple times through, and I know you're just as busy as I am this time of year. So I appreciate all the hard work and effort you put in to the show. We had some technical difficulties. I got to stop using my phone while I'm around this stream because I had some back feed that was messing up my microphone to start. So we were all over the place to start out, and I appreciate your patience in trying to work through those things. I even forgot, I always do an intro before I do my video because we had Terrence Young, who's a great supporter of the show and a good friend of mine, where we saw him announcing the Riley Ridley pick a few years ago at Soldier Field. He had the opportunity to do that, but I forgot to do our normal opening where we have somebody intro us. In 3, 2, 1.
This is Doug Plank, former Chicago Bear. You're listening to Brags in the Stands.
See, wouldn't that have been so much better than my
Really?
stupid, goofy ass smiling because I had no idea what I was doing to
Where
start
was
the
that?
show?
I remember that's when I was in Tampa for the Super Bowl, and I jumped on and we were talking. That's one of my mom's favorite players. But man, what an intro! That looked like was that the one take?
I don't know. It was actually his second take.
All right, it was still pretty good though.
Yeah, it was two take Plank, but he
Plank,
two take Plank, and he's a good friend of Don's, and he's becoming a good friend of mine through Don, and that's been a great thrill to me. Even though I haven't been able to ever watch him play, obviously in person because I wasn't old enough. But there's Don and Doug hanging out at Soldier Field, and Doug, you want to talk about passion for the Chicago Bears? It's unmatched when you talk about Doug Plank, and obviously he laid the wood for the Chicago Bears.
Whoa.
So he's big time, and maybe the Bears can find a few of those guys here in tomorrow night's draft, or maybe they get a quarterback. Hard to say who they're going to be.
Russell Wilson?
Who's it going to be? I don't know if Russell's going to happen, but maybe it's one of these three guys. And as scary as it would be for them to, trade up for a quarterback, if they do it, I'm going to be excited because this franchise needs to turn the page onto the next one. We've had way too many Mitch arguments, and the fan base divided between Jay Cutler and Mitch Trubisky, and it gets tiresome to be fighting with your own fans constantly about your team on the field. We should be fighting Packer fans, and that's how the thing should be. But first things first, we got to take care of our own business and in-house, and try to get on your level with your Chiefs and try to get into a Super Bowl and maybe win one, God forbid, one day. But we shall see. It all starts in the draft. And hopefully the Bears can get it right, and these two guys can stop looking so scared when they come to the podium. I would
stop showing that picture immediately.
Well, hey, it's the state
for confidence. I would not show that picture.
It's the state of the franchise as we currently said. So hey, we got to talk about it, unfortunately, but hopefully they can get things right, and we can get to more positive coverage of our beloved Chicago Bears, because we know Johnny's smiling ear to ear for his football team, and I'd like to be smiling too. So again, that wraps things up finally here on Brags in the Stands. For Johnny B, I'm G Brags. Catch us on Twitter. Catch us on YouTube. Catch us on Facebook. We're always having fun.
Catch us on the streets, baby.
All day long.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get back to it. That wraps things up for the night. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brags in the Stands.
This is why I'm hot. 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 I'm hot.